Doug, what impact does your thinking have on your mood?
There was a best-selling book many years ago by David Burns called Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy. And this entire book was all about the impact of your thinking on your mood. Matter of fact, in cognitive therapy, they say that your mood is determined by your thinking. Now, that's not true, of course, you know. Your mood is determined by many things. Your physiology is the first thing that determines your mood, right? But your thinking has a very big effect on your mood, because think of this. Every time you have a thought, it creates a chemical reaction, and the chemical reaction creates a feeling. Thought, chemical reaction, feeling. So your thinking does affect how you feel.
Right. So, but I thought how we feel is determined by what happens to us.
Yeah, that's what we learned. You know all those pop songs we grew up with, like, you make me feel like a natural woman, you know, Carole King, you know. You make me feel so bad, you know, and when people are brokenhearted after romance. Right. Why do you have to make me feel? Nobody can make you feel anything. We make ourselves feel things by the way we interpret life. So let me give you an example. Okay. Here we are in beautiful Portland, Oregon, right? It's a summer day. Right. Look outside, it's beautiful. But what happens in November, December, right? Rain, 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 right? So it's the middle of December, 15 straight days of rain. The guy's just moved up from California. He says, oh my God, one more day. I'm going back to Los Angeles. I am so depressed. The guy sitting next to him at work says, wow, 15 days of rain. Do you know how much snow there is in the mountains? We get to go skiing over the weekend. Yippee, there's a new snowpack, right? What's going on? There's the same event, rain, right? But one guy feels happy, one guy feels sad. What's the difference? Different interpretation. So it's how you interpret things that determines your feeling, your thoughts about what happens, rather than what happens itself. That's not my idea. That goes way back to Seneca in Rome. You know, I forget the exact quote, but he says it's your estimation of things rather than the thing itself that makes you feel a certain way. So that is, you know, not my idea, but it's a powerful idea.
Is it true that depressed people think more negatively than most?
Aaron Beck, who is considered the father of modern cognitive therapy, said that depressed people have a cognitive triad. Now, why? Well, it's a combination. Why do people get depressed, right? That's a whole other video, right? But it's a combination of your genetics, right? If your parents are melancholic, you're more likely to be, and also your early conditioning. So for whatever reason, a person succumbs to depression and they have what's called cognitive triad, like tricycle, like three things, right? Sure. They have a depressed view of themselves, like low self-esteem, a depressed view of the world, like life, you know, is a bitch and then you die, right? That was written by a depressed person, right? And a negative view of the future. You know, Lily Tomlin, who's going to be here in Portland, great comedian, Lily Tomlin. She's a very famous comedian from my generation. She said, things will get worse before they get worse. Right? So that's what they think about themselves, about the world, and about the future. Now, there's names for this. In AA, they call it stinking thinking. Sure. And the psychologists call it cognitive distortions. I think Zig Ziglar, a very famous motivational speaker, used to say, I need to get a checkup from the neck up, you know? You know, it's your attitude that determines your altitude and also your lack of altitude, right? ANTS, A-N-T-S, automatic negative thoughts, junk thought, all means the same thing. Negative thinking, stinking thinking, things that people from depression suffer from. So cognitive therapists have created a very simple technique, which we can go into more detail in a future video. But basically, you recognize the negative thought. You say, I'm thinking negatively, right? You give it a name, and there's a whole list of these cognitive distortions. One of them is catastrophizing, we talked about earlier. And then you substitute a realistic thought. For example, here you are at work. You're at the water fountain. The boss comes up and gets a drink and looks at you like really irritated. Sure. They think, oh my God, you walk away. I know it. I'm going to lose my job. You know, it's all over. I knew he didn't like me. This is called catastrophizing, fortune telling, making things up. Right. Maybe the boss was just having a bad day. Maybe he had an argument with his spouse, right? Sure. Maybe he basically just found out that the profits were down. So what you do in this technique is you first basically recognize what you're doing. I'm having a negative thought about the future. Right. You call for what it is. I'm fortune telling. And then you substitute the more realistic thought, which is, well, how do I know what the boss is thinking? He might have had a bad day. You know, until I have evidence that I'm in trouble, I'm just going to go back to my desk and do my job and have a good rest of the day. That's a very simple tool. But it's recognizing that you're making the negative thinking and then finding a way to correct it.